Okay, I'm going to provide an example of a computer adaptive test from one of the PROMIS measures, the Patient Reported Outcomes Measurement Information System. You have references down at the bottom, URLs, where you can find out further information about PROMIS and computer adaptive testing. One thing to keep in mind as we go through is that PROMIS is scored on a T-score metric, so the mean is 50 and the standard deviation is 10 in the US general population. And when this particular example, we'll be looking at anger, the anger scale, and a higher score means more anger. So if your score is above 50, that indicates you have more anger than the US general population estimate. Another thing that will be important to keep in mind is what we try to do with a computer adaptive test if we want an individual score and to interpret that. I already referred to this previously, but the reliability is going to range between 0 and 1. 1 is perfect. And 0.90 or above is the goal for individual assessment. So you need high reliability because the confidence interval around an individual score is quite wide if reliability isn't very high. So the standard error measurement can be estimated as the standard deviation times the square root of 1 minus the reliability. And the reliability of the measurement when we are reporting it on the T-score metric can be estimated as 1 minus the standard error divided by 10 squared. So when the reliability will be 0.90 when the standard error measurement is 3.2. So when we're looking at computer adaptive testing results, what we're trying to do is have the standard error measurement be less than 3.2. That's often a default people use if they're using the threshold of at least a reliability greater than or close to 0.90. You may want even a higher threshold, but often that's the default on computer adaptive tests, that once you get to 0.90 or above, then you'll stop the assessment and feel like you have enough of a low enough standard error to go forward, because then you can compute the confidence interval, which is the true score plus or minus 1.96 times the standard error measurement. We won't worry about the details about what the true score is, but it reflects regression to the mean is taken into account. But if the observed score that you get, the estimated score for someone is equal to the true score mean, then you don't have to worry about the difference between the true score and the observed score because you just use the true score as is. In that case, the simple case, you can think of it, for example, if we estimated the anger score to be 50, then the 95% confidence interval, if the reliability is 0.90, would range from 44 to 56. So that's pretty wide range when the standard deviation is 10. But still, it's better than lower reliability and higher standard errors of measurement. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this demo. This is actually the first question you'd be asked if you did a computer adaptive test with the anger scale in PROMIS. So it asks, in the past 7 days, I was grouchy. That's the first question. And then you have the response choices that are shown on the left here: never, rarely, sometimes, often, and always. So you can think about what your response might be. What I have on the right in brackets, you wouldn't see. That's hidden underneath the program, but I'm just showing that to you so you get a sense for what the computer adaptive test is doing. What it's doing at this point is saying, okay, I need an answer to find out an initial estimate of where someone's anger is. I don't know their anger until I get some answer. So it's starting with kind of a middle of the road question to try to figure out where you are on the continuum. A higher score, again, is more anger. So if I answer never, it's going to guess, based on all the data that's been collected before from PROMIS, that my anger on the anger item bank, where you have all the questions asked, would be 39. That's the best guess it's going to make. And there's some standard error associated with that, which, as you ask more and more questions, the standard error goes down. If I say rarely, it's going to be 48. So that's pretty close to the US general population mean. Sometimes it's going to say 56, often 64, and then always it's going to guess 72. So if I say I was always grouchy in the past 7 days, it's going to think I'm an angry person based on this one question. So what's my answer? I'm going to say sometimes I was grouchy in the past 7 days. So I know it's going to estimate my anger to be 56. More precisely, it's 56.1. And also, if you know the underpinnings of the program, you can find out that at this point it has a standard error measurement of 5.7, which is equivalent to a reliability of 0.68. So with one question, it's gotten pretty good reliable information with that response and saying it's 0.68, but we're trying to get above 0.90, so we're nowhere near that. And it wants the standard error to be below 3.2. So we know, of course, with one question, that's not enough. We have to keep going. So based on my response of sometimes, it thinks my anger is around 56. So it's going to ask me a question that implies a higher level of anger. So the second question I get if I pick that particular response to the first question is, I felt like I was ready to explode. So you can see that the item stem here really implies a lot more anger than the first question, which was more neutral. And now I've got the same response options. So if I say always, I felt like I was ready to explode, it's going to think I have even higher anger than it thinks based on the first question. But what's my answer to this? I'm saying never. I never felt that angry in the past 7 days. So what will it do? It will then recalibrate or re-estimate my score, and it's going to bring my score down so it doesn't think I am as angry as it thought I was originally, because I just gave the least angry response. So now my estimated anger is about 52. So it's gone down closer to the US general population average. The standard error is gone down to 4.8 and reliability has gone up to 0.77. And this is what you want to see. Now, if people answer in a consistent way, they're not all over the road, in terms of their answers that are not consistent. Like one time they look real angry, another time they don't look angry at all. Then your standard error should go down and your reliability should go up. But one of the nice things about computer adaptive testing is if you are inconsistent, then your standard error will never go down and your reliability will never go up. And at least you know that, and you can take that into account either to decide not to use that person's data, or at least to maybe flag it and potentially look and see if analyses, if you're doing research studies, matter when you include people who have high standard errors in measurement. Okay, so the next question is going to ask, it's somewhere around the estimated anger of 52. It says, I felt angry. So this doesn't seem to be as extreme as the second question. I felt angry in the past 7 days. I'm going to say rarely. So there is some anger, but not very much, or at least not very frequently for me in the past 7 days is my response. So what does it do now? Now it hasn't moved my anger estimate very much. It says 50.5. The standard error has gone down, reliability has gone up. It's now at 0.85. So it's not above 0.90 yet. So 3 questions is not enough. So it'll ask me another question. Fourth question, I felt angrier than I thought I should. And again, the same response choices. In the past 7 days, did I feel angrier than I thought I should? I'm going to say never. So that's a low level of anger that's implied there. So my anger score should go down even closer to the general population average because it was a little bit above it up to this point. So what happens, it actually puts me a little bit below the 50 average. So it thinks I'm a little less angry than the general population at this point. It says I'm about 49 on the T-score metric and the mean is 50 in the general population. My standard error has gone down some, my reliability has gone up to 0.87, but it's going to keep asking questions until I meet the threshold of above 0.90 reliability and a standard error below 3.2. So the fifth question, I felt annoyed. In the past 7 days, well, I'm going to say sometimes. So I have been annoyed sometimes in the past 7 days. That doesn't seem like too severe of a response. It makes sense that you can be annoyed sometimes, and that probably fits what's true in the past 7 days for me. So what happens? Now my anger goes up a little. Now it's about 50. And the standard error is 3.2, reliability is 0.90, so we're right at the threshold. So if we had set the threshold so the reliability was exactly equal to 0.90, this would have been my last question. In 5 questions, it would have gotten to a reliability of 0.90. but by default, we've set it so the reliability is above 0.90 reliability. So it's going to ask me another question. The sixth question, I made myself angry about something just by thinking about it. And my answer is rarely. So again, I admitted a little bit of anger on this question, but not very much. So what happens? Now my estimated anger is right at the US general population average. My standard error is below 3.2 and my reliability is above 0.90. So after 6 questions, it's done. It will give me an anger score of 50.2, standard error of 2.8, and the reliability of 0.92, and that will be what I have based on a computer adaptive test. If I took the whole item bank, which I believe is 29 questions, I would probably just be wasting time, but maybe I would get to a little more reliability if I didn't burn out, answering similar questions so much. This is the most efficient way to get to a target level of reliability. And just as a general rule, we found in PROMIS that about 5 to 6 questions works for the majority of the respondents. So you can get to a level of reliability above 0.90 in about 5 to 6 questions with the PROMIS item banks. So that some people, they'll never, as I said, they'll never get to the target reliability level because they're not consistent. But for the majority of the people, you'll be able to save a lot of time in administration and have good quality data.